Hi everyone, my name is Amy Cellino. I am a librarian at Joliet Junior College and also an associate professor. I want to welcome you all today to EduCon. My presentation is on the JJC Digital Archives. Our agenda for today includes an introduction to the JJC Digital Archives, an overview of collections in the archives, tips for searching, and finally, using the oral history collection in your class. For our introduction to the JJC Archives digital collection, we want to talk about why it's important that we preserve our history. Joliet Junior College is the first public community college in the USA. It began in 1901 and was really the idea of very innovative and intelligent people. We want to preserve our history so that way we can share and learn from it. We really do have a wonderful, rich history within our country on being the first community college. JJC's digital collections are housed on a site called Internet Archive. Right now we have 578 items on Internet Archive. However, that is continuing to grow. We also have 24/7 free access for everyone to access these collections, and they are available using searchable text, and I will show you an example of how you can search. There are two ways that we can access our collection on Internet Archive. The first is to go to the library website and go to the archives collection. The second way would be to go directly to Internet Archive and access the Joliet Junior College collection. Before I take you into the collections to show you how to search, I wanted to talk a little bit about what's in the collections. We have our JJC history books and documents. The Joliet Junior College Pictorial History is a great starting point that you'll be able to find out everything about the history of the college. There's also a lot of different documents under here, like different bulletins, articles. It really will give a nice foundation for Joliet Junior College, the history, and also information that's included in the archives. We also have the JJC Yearbooks. Those begin in 1906 and go to 1977. They are not available for every year. They just were not published for every year. So it can be a bit sporadic, but these are an excellent place to go just to get a feel for the history and culture, fashion, hairstyles. It's really fascinating to flip through these and see how life was during these different decades. The Blazer newspapers we have beginning in 1931, and the collection currently goes to 2018. We also have sporadic years here, especially early on. The newspaper was not always published on a regular basis, or there were even some years where it wasn't published at all. And interestingly, we see this during the World War II era. There are definitely some years where there are gaps. This collection is just excellent for finding out politically what was happening, knowing what were some of the hot topics happening on campus during the different decades, and again, that nice glimpse at what styles and fashion and even language was like back during these different decades. The Word Eater Literary Magazine is from 1972 to 2007. This is a nice look again at some of the fun artistic and creative ways that students and faculty have expressed themselves over the years. We also have the Dr. Hale Dullinger Fine Arts Collection. The materials in here range from the years 1949 to 1977. Dr. Dullinger was the first music professor here at the college and started the music and fine arts program. So you will see a lot of playbills, posters for events, newspaper articles. It's truly a fascinating collection, and one of my favorite parts is the recordings that we have from actual student performances, some from the 1950s. I will be sure to share those with you when I show you more about searching the collection and what's in there. The local oral history collection is our newest project that we've been working on. These are going to be interviews with people that were born at the turn of the 20th century. So they offer a really interesting glimpse at life during times before there was technology and cars and computers, and really a fascinating overview. And I'll talk more about this collection when I talk about how you can use this project in your classes. Okay, so let's search our digital archives. From the library homepage, I can look at this purple bar here, and under collections, I will see a link to the archives. If I click on this, it's going to take me to the archives website, gives me a bit of an overview, and it also breaks down our digital collections. So I could right now go directly to any of these collections and search. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the Joliet Junior College history, the books and documents. And when I click on that link, it's going to pull up the different books, articles, publications, all that make up the Joliet Junior College history. The one book I mentioned before for a great overview, or if someone just wants to start finding out about the history, would be this Joliet Junior College 1901 to 2001, A Pictorial History. I'm going to go ahead and click on this particular book just to take you in to show you what it looks like. So you'll see we have the book here. I can go ahead and just click through the pages. If I want to zoom in on something, I have this toolbar at the bottom. I can just click that plus sign, and that will help me zoom in so I can read picture captions better. I can also scroll back out. If I wanted to look for something specific in this particular book, I can search the text. So by using this icon that looks like a magnifying glass, if I click on that, I can go ahead and do a search for, let's say I want to look up J.D. Ross, who was a past president here. I want to put J.D. Ross in quotes because otherwise I'm going to be pulling up just anyone with the last name Ross or even the first name Ross. So this will just make our search more specific. And we'll see here with the bars on the bottom, this tells me all the pages that J.D. Ross is mentioned on. I can scroll through, and on this left-hand sidebar, it will give me a nice overview as far as what the pages are talking about. It's just kind of capturing that text where J.D. Ross is mentioned. So then I know whether I want to jump to that page or if it's going to be something that, that I want to use. So just as an example, I can go ahead and jump to this page 137. And we'll see here that there's a photograph of President Ross. If I jump to this page, we see here that Ross is pictured with, it looks like probably his secretary. So then I can, if I wanted to, let's say, if I wanted to print this out, I could scroll down here, and I want to just mention this particular book has had 2,613 views. So it's nice to see that this digital collection is being used. We have different download options. I usually go ahead and use a PDF download. Going to get back to just our main page with the collections and just mention a few. Like I mentioned before, the yearbooks are in here, the blazers. If we want to go ahead and do a search for a blazer newspaper, we can go ahead and click on that link. And that will take us into our collection of blazers. I can select to refine my list to date published for better organization. I always usually like to do that when I'm looking at the blazers. And then again, you'll see I have an option where I can search the contents. I don't want to search the metadata because the metadata is just how the document has been indexed. So I probably am not going to come up much with my search terms. But if I use text contents, that's if I do my search of putting J.D. Ross in quotes and look at the text contents, I can search and I'll come up with a list of results that contain J.D. Ross. I also wanted to mention that when we do look at these documents, we have this icon that is an eye, and that tells us how often these documents are being viewed. So with these blazers, you could see some of these are in the hundreds, which is great. When we look at some of our historic documents, like our ebook, you actually see that close to 3,000 views. So it is a great collection and it is getting used. It's something that I think needs to get out there more as being a possibility for people to explore. And that's part of what I'm trying to do is market it a bit more. And I do hope you'll share this with your classes or even use it yourself. One of my favorite parts of this whole collection is the Dr. Hale Dullinger Fine Arts Collection. And I'm going to go ahead and go back to our archives page and click on that Dr. Hale Dullinger Fine Arts Collection link. And we have recordings from different concerts that were put on during the years at JJC. I want to find one to play for you because it is just a really amazing experience to hear the music as it was played. This one is a concert from May 20th of 1954. So just a beautiful moment in time captured and a beautiful part of our history. Again, one of my favorite parts of this collection is being able to listen to those recordings from those past concerts. The final section of my presentation is using the JJC Digital Archives in your class. The main project I want to share with everyone is the oral history project and using that in your classroom. The nice thing about the oral history project is that it's primary source material, which oftentimes can be a bit difficult to find. The project provides firsthand accounts of life during the first half of the 20th century. So as I was saying before, it's life before there were movie theaters, life before there were automobiles. It's really an amazing view of life that is firsthand accounts from people from our community. The reason why it's nice to share with your classes is that it provides an understanding of the history of our community. It also will help bridge that connection to our community and also will give us an appreciation for the importance of our shared humanity. So a bit about the program. This was started in 1972 by Dr. Robert Sterling. He is a local historian and has also written a lot of books. That Pictorial History on Joliet Junior College was one of the books that he was the author of. So he coordinated this project as an assignment for his History 210 classes. The primary goal of the program was to record and preserve the historically significant reminiscences of Joliet area residents for the present and future understanding of this region. The transcripts have been stored in the archives and were rediscovered a few years ago. So this is a project that is very dear to my heart. The archives just kind of held these transcripts. They were just sitting there, and we just happened to start kind of going through them, and I started reading them, and I really started to see how important these were in such a great collection to have in our archives. So my goal, of course, was to share it with our community. So that is what we did. We decided to digitize the collection and make it available through our Internet Archive site. So the gist of the collection is that JJC students from the 1970s conducted interviews with area residents who were born in the late 1800s and early 1900s. Oftentimes you'll see that a student was interviewing maybe a grandparent or a family member. Also, the Joliet Junior College Oral History Program, it shares about life in the Joliet area and the surrounding communities during that first half of the 20th century. It's not only Joliet, we're also going to see Lockport, Plainfield, Shanahan, Elwood, Morris. So we really have a great collection of firsthand accounts of life during this time period in these different communities. The collection is filled with wisdom, humor, and life, again, before technology. This generation faced a myriad of challenges, including 2 world wars and the Great Depression, and those are spoken about in these oral histories. While this is a small collection, the knowledge that is shared is powerful and courageous. When I spoke about how it really helps us better understand our own humanity, it truly shows that no matter what decade you were born in or what century you're living in, we all share some of the similar challenges in life's trials. So the project includes 88 typed transcripts. Those are digitized. And we also have 55 sound recordings, and those have just recently been digitized as well. The nice thing about the sound recordings is it allowed us to bridge a collaboration with the Joliet Area Historical Museum. They actually had the recordings in their storage and came across them and reached out to the library to ask if we would be interested in doing something with them. So of course, right away we said yes, definitely. So last summer we worked with a nonprofit. We worked with a nonprofit from Chicago to have these digitized. We had funding from the foundation. A special thank you to Christy Mulvey for her generosity. And we were able to put these onto our Internet Archive website. So a few things just to note about the collection. One is that connection that we created. We worked with that Joliet Area Historical Museum. We also partnered with the Joliet Public Library just to help us with the marketing of the collection. The recognition that was gained from this, JJC was recognized through newspaper and magazine articles and also throughout campus. The sharing portion is that our community now has access to a priceless collection of oral histories. It also showcases our college's commitment to serving our community. And then finally, the teaching component, which I'm talking to you about right now, is how the oral history program teaches us about the history of Joliet and the surrounding communities and connects the past to the present. We can learn remarkably from oral history, the courage past generations demonstrated, the difficulties they endured, and ultimately the peace they found in their collective experience. So we can listen and learn so much from the oral history digital collection. I'm going to show you how we can search that collection and also share a bit of a recording with you. To search the oral history collection, I'm going to go back to that page that has our digital collections. I'm going to scroll through here and you'll see oral histories are the final collection we have as part of our digital collections. So here we'll see that we have 145 results for our oral histories. So these are going to be made up of sound recordings and also the actual printed transcripts. Some have both, so it kind of offers a nice read-along experience. You could listen while also following along with the transcript. I want to go ahead and play a bit of one of the recordings for you, just so you can get a sense of that history and also, again, that moment in time that was captured.
I never worked one of those gadgets myself.
Yeah, I didn't before this either. Okay, this is an interview with Bernard Bannon for the JJC Oral History Program by Nancy Feist at 1014 Black Road, February 22nd, March 1st, 1977, at 7:30 p.m. Okay. All right. Now, would you like to start with your background of your childhood and where and when you were born?
Well, Nancy, I was born at the corner of Jefferson and Nicholson Street, April the 15th, 1903. And I lived there practically all my life until I was.
So, as you probably heard, this gentleman was born in 1903 and being interviewed in 1977. So, I do find this to be such a beautiful reminiscence and a beautiful collection that we have. I often say it's like finding a lost audio tape of a grandparent or something. So, they truly are just very touching, and the information in there is truly priceless. I'm going to go ahead and go back to our main page here for our oral histories. And I just want to show you how I can search the text contents. Let's say I'm looking specifically for Elwood as a place that I was curious about hearing a history on. So I can type Elwood on. Again, I want to make sure I'm using the text contents, and I can click on search. And that's going to basically search through the collection and pull up anywhere that Elwood has been mentioned. So you'll see, I can see right away these oral histories that are mentioning Elwood, and it even gives me a bit of like what a part of like that text is so I can look. So again, just a nice way that if you do have students who are doing any kind of a history project and they're looking specifically at a certain area, they are able to narrow down and limit this. So as far as using this in your classes, I do find there would be so much value, whether it's the oral history collection or one of the other collections, whether you're using images. It's very nice to know that JJC has such a rich history and that our students and even us, that we are all a part of this. I wanted to end with one of my favorite quotes from the oral history collection, and it is from a man named James Fraser. He was born in 1883, and he was interviewed in 1972, and he says, "To tell you the truth, I'm kind of an optimist. I think this is a pretty good old world. I think it is going to keep on being a pretty good world." So even though we are facing challenges today, we will continue to face challenges throughout our lifetimes. I want us to find peace and strength in those stories that are a part of our history. And I thank you so much for listening and being a part of this session today. Thank you very much for being here.